Hey gang, we are at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery here in Los Angeles, California on a cold morning. Gosh, LA, it's like it was in the 40s this morning. It's starting to warm up, sun's coming up. But we're in the section of the cemetery more to the west, to the southwest, Jewish section. And we're going to actually walk to the mausoleum section here, and there's a interment, a crypt there that we want to visit. It's a story of a young boy who was 12 years old. Go back to the 1930s. He got himself in a lot of trouble, and it's just a story of twists and turns. His name was Herbert Nichols, and it happened when he was 12 years old. He got in some real trouble. So let's take a walk and I'll tell you the story of this young man. I want to thank Sue Perkins for giving me the heads up on this story. Now look at this, interesting, a lot of interesting stones here, and there's a lot of interesting and very famous people here at the cemetery. Mickey Rooney, for one. Look at that. It's amazing. Charles Segal, most recorded pianist. Look at that. And if you look at the keys, gosh, these look real. Nope, they're stone. What an amazing. Look at that. I thought they were real. What a legacy. Well, you can pause that and read that, but I see there's actually a tune here. Choose life, and every day I treasure it. How great is that? So we're going to actually walk that away. So yeah, Herbert was born June 29th, 1919. And like I say, when he was 12 years old, he had already lived a very tough life, being shuffled around foster homes, and he was a junior. They called him Junior. And as he got older, they put him in a reform school called St. Anthony. It's in southeastern Idaho. We're going to the Pacific Northwest here with our story. So he'd already been in a lot of trouble and got out of the reform school, and he ended up with his grandma at a place called Asotin, Washington. Her name, Grandma Mary Addington. And she was very strict. She would hit the boy with a club quite often. And anytime he got out of line a lot. He was not a choir boy. In fact, he had set a church on fire. Well, anyway, this kid has a gun and he runs away from grandma. He's had enough and he's now on his own. He could not, there he is alone. He's 12 years old. And his first night, he is walking down the dark street, and he's in a tattered overalls. He's barefoot. He's got his gun, and of course, he's hungry. He's looking for food. And what does he do? He goes into the local store, and of course, now it's like 1 a.m. And he breaks into the store. But what he doesn't know is that he's been spotted. He's been spotted by the store owner, apparently, or maybe he had a burglar alarm. So Herbert, we'll call him Junior, he's in there, and first thing he sees on the counter is candy. So he's going for the candy, and then he grabs some cigarettes, and everything's like, this is great. This is going to be easy. All of a sudden there's a knock on the door and some rustling. You know, it's dark in there. He's scared. He ducks down behind a vinegar barrel. And the next thing you know, the door bursts open and it's the sheriff, Wormel. Now, Sheriff Wormel is in his 60s. He was a state representative back then. He's a pillar of the community. And he is joined, who's crouching behind him, the store owner. And they're coming in, they're looking around for Herbert. They don't know it's Herbert, they just know it's somebody. And Herbert's scared. He's scared to death. He's hiding behind that barrel in the dark. Well, the next thing you know, two other deputies, sheriff deputy and the under sheriff, come, but they're standing outside and somebody flips the lights on. Well, Junior panics. He jumps up and there's Sheriff Wormel right in his face, 5 feet away, and he just unloads, shoots him right in the head. And Sheriff Wormel just goes down in a heap. He was dead before he hit the floor. And that ended the freedom for Junior, Herbert Nichols. Of course, he's taken into custody. He is brought in jail, and everyone's calling him the Barefoot Murderer. Of course, the newspapers are all over it. It becomes a sensational trial. Now, the prosecutors, this 12-year-old boy, they're seeking the death penalty. And the defense, of course, is seeking what they called it something else, but it's basically the insanity defense. And thank God the judge, 12-year-old boy, I mean, he wasn't a good boy, but, and it wasn't like he plotted to murder somebody. Anyway, thank God the judge had some sense. So he sentenced him to life in prison. So where does he go? He goes to Walla Walla prison, and he is put in isolation. Isolation away from the other prisoners, which, thank God. And that would be his salvation. Now, when this happened, you ever hear of Boys Town? We're speaking of Mickey Rooney. Mickey Rooney's interred somewhere around here. A lot of famous Hollywood golden age. But Boys Town, Father Flanagan, my favorite movie, by the way, of all time. I watch it every few years. Mickey Rooney starred. Anyway, Father Flanagan, the real Father Flanagan, the real Boys Town, he comes out of the woodwork and he's like, we need to release the boy. I want to bring him into Boys Town here. I want to reform him. But the governor would not let him. Governor was not having it. He was staunch. He was in the camp where the boy should have been given the death penalty. So basically, the new governor comes in and he's following the boy, and the boy is doing really well. Junior is like a math genius. He's a genius in math, and he's learning, they're teaching him, and he's taking advanced courses, and other prisoners are tutoring him, and he's doing great. It's amazing. He's a good boy, turning into a young man, and he's now 21. He's now 21, and the new governor comes in, and like I said, had come in and he'd been following him for many years, writing to him, encouraging him, and finally his heart swelled, and he paroled Herbert Jr. at the age of 21. Really cool. Herbert gets out. He goes to work for a bakery. Has a problem. I think he gets into a dispute, and luckily he doesn't break parole. And then the next thing you know, he ends up in Tacoma in a shipyard. He's doing better in the shipyard. And then he ends up, get this, at Fox Studios and MGM. I think it was MGM, then Fox. So he ends up down here as an accountant, doing great. He gets married, he has a family, has a son named John, and he does great. So, kind of a happy ending. Not just kind of a happy ending, a happy ending. And he lives a pretty good life. I mean, considering. He turned it all around. Walla Walla prison. We hear the old prisons and how bad they are, right? Well, they did a good thing there. Sadly, in 1983, at the age of 63, Herbert Nichols died of a heart attack after 42 years of living a clean life. And his crypt is right here. As I recall, it was the 5th row up. Yeah. Right there. (1983), and this is where he is. Herbert Nichols, rest in peace. Yeah, all I can say is, God bless this. God bless that boy, that 12-year-old boy, turned his life around. Rest in peace.